Carter reads the newspaper. Written by Deborah Hopkinton, illustrated by Tate.
See all pictures?
Yeah, all different people. Yeah.
See all pictures?
Yeah, our history. Marcus Garvey, Nat Turner, Elijah McCoy, Francis Harper, Booker T. Washington, Dred Scott, Edmona Lewis, Mansa Musa, Phyllis Wheatley, Queen Amina, Hannah Boburka, Joseph Cle. Look at that. The Peachtree Atlanta Publisher. Carter reads the newspaper. We got the newspaper yesterday, didn't we? Each February, we celebrate Black History Month. It's time to honor heroes like Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, and Martin Luther King Jr. But there's one hero we sometimes forget. Carter G. Woodson didn't help people escape from slavery, start a bus strike, or lead a movement of millions. Yet, without him, we might not have Black History Month. This is his story. Oh, look at that. Where are they sitting? What are they sitting on? A porch? Oh, what's that? A little baby? Carter was born on a small farm in Virginia in 1875, 10 years after the end of the Civil War. Carter's parents, James Henry and Anne Eliza, were born into slavery, and Carter grew up hearing about their lives. The stories they told weren't part of any history book, but Carter kept them in his heart. James Henry had run away from his master to join the Union Army and fight for freedom. Times are hard, though. After the war, James Henry worked on the railroad, saving enough to buy a few acres of worn-out land. Most years, the crops brought in $100 or less. There's James Henry Woodson. And what's he working on?
Field.
What's this right here? What is that?
Several.
The shovel. And what's he working on? What are these?
Train track.
A train track. Anne Eliza was unbelievably brave. She was a girl. Her master decided to sell her mother. Anne Eliza asked him to sell her instead. That way her mother wouldn't have to leave her other 5 children. But no one offered enough money for Anne Eliza, so her master sold her mother and 2 little brothers instead. Anne Eliza didn't see them again until after the Civil War. She never forgot the horror of standing on the auction block. Oh my goodness. Anne Eliza Riddle Woodson. Carter's parents struggled to feed and clothe 7 children, especially in winter and early spring. Food was scarce. The youngest said, "We would leave the table hungry to go to the woods and pluck the persimmons. Many times we had to jump into bed early on Saturday nights so his mother could wash his only pants and shirt for church the next day." Carter could only attend school 4 months each year. The rest of the time he was needed to work on the farm. Learning didn't happen just at school. James Henry taught his children to stand up for themselves and take pride in who they were. He gave Carter the courage to look anyone in the eye and say, "I am your equal." What's happening? Reading the book? And though Carter's father couldn't read or write, he believed in being an informed citizen, so he asked Carter to read the newspaper to him. But newspapers weren't easy to come by. Sometimes Carter read from old ones that had been used to wrap up food or packages. Reading the newspaper gave Carter his first glimpse of the wider world. Look at that. Carter's reading the newspaper just like you were this morning. Carter longed to go to high school, but his family needed him to earn money. When he was 15, he hired himself out to nearby farms, working long hours under the hot sun. He also drove a garbage wagon. Not a garbage truck, but a garbage wagon. Look right here, Benji.
Garbage truck.
Yeah, they didn't.
It's a garbage up.
Yeah.
And garbage hopper and put it back down.
That's how it happens now, but they didn't have engines back then, so they used horses. They call it horsepower. High school would have to wait. Look at all that garbage. Oh my goodness. Apple core, fish, stinky garbage. Carter's older brother, Robert, found good paying work in the coal mines of West Virginia. Carter decided to join him there. Mining was grueling, hard work. That means hard working for a boy, not yet 17. It was dangerous. Once a piece of slate came crashing down on Carter's head. Oh no, look it! He never forgot his time in the mines. Years later, Carter said, "I am a coal miner, and I can take anything." You think that hurt, Carter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks really painful. And see the hard hat and the light?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a teardrop. In the harsh place, Carter met a man named Oliver Jones. You'd have to look hard to find Oliver's name in history books, but in that small mining camp in Fayette County, West Virginia, Oliver did something important. He changed one life, and that life changed many. There's Oliver Jones. Like Carter's father, Oliver was a Civil War veteran who believed in education. As a soldier who had been at the Battle of the Appomattox on the final days of the Civil War, Oliver had fought for freedom and equality. He was still willing to do his part to further the cause, said Carter. You see the guns, the soldiers, the uniforms. Each evening, after working in the mines, Oliver threw open the doors of his little house to the other miners. He made his home a reading room, filling it with books by African American writers and with newspapers from all over the country. He sold ice cream and fruits, all at prices that men could afford. Fair prices. At first, Carter just went for the food, but that changed. Carter said, "When Oliver Jones learned that I could read, he soon engaged me to inform him and his friends as to what was in the daily newspapers." Carter was happy to oblige. He liked reading the newspaper. Besides, he said later, "I always enjoyed nice things to eat." Yeah. Thanks for letting me know. I'll clean that up. Having a little snack while we read. Carter admired Oliver. He was a well-educated man, but he could neither read nor write, said Carter. He learned through others. Carter began to learn in the same way. Look at that. They're all reading, and Carter's teaching them to read and be informed. Carter had longed for school. Life at Oliver's tea room turned out to be school. Oh, of a different kind. Whenever Oliver and the other miners had questions about something Carter read in the newspaper, it was Carter's job to research the answers. If a Civil War veteran was in the news, Oliver wanted to know all about the man. I had to look up in the books and inform my friends as to what battles he had fought, said Carter. If there was a question about economics, politics, or a new law, it was up to Carter to find out all about it in the newspaper and explain it to his friends. Carter was inspired by Oliver and the circle of men committed to freedom, equality, and knowledge. Men whose own life stories could never be in the history books. And so, in the seeds of Carter's own life work began to grow. My interest in the penetrating the past of my people was deepened. Wow, Benji. Carter worked in the mines for 3 years. When he was 20, he moved home to Virginia to start high school. He finished in just 2 years, Benji. Carter went on to college and began a teacher. He continued to study and work, earning a master's degree when he was 33. Then, when Carter was 37, he earned a PhD in history from Harvard University, the second African American to do that. W.E.B. Du Bois was a first. Carter was the first and only Black American whose parents had been slaves to receive a doctorate in history. Look at Benji. Look at that. Come here. They got a cap and a gown and a diploma. Yeah. At Harvard, so the story goes, one of Carter's teachers said that the Black people had no history. Carter remembered his father's pride, his mother's courage, and Oliver's determination to learn. He remembered reading the newspaper. Carter spoke up. No people lacked a history, he said. The professor challenged Carter to prove him wrong. For the rest of his life, Carter did just that. In 1926, look at all these people, Benji. Look at all these people. He established a Negro History Week. Later, it became Black History Month. Carter chose the second week of February to mark the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. Today, our entire nation celebrates Black History Month. And we honor Dr. Carter G. Woodson as the father of Black history. But in 1926, Carter was alone with his new idea. He had to blaze a trail. He had to spread the word at a time when there was no computers or internet or television. So Carter sent pamphlets about Negro History Week or to our schools, colleges, churches, women's club, and of course he sent notices in the newspaper, Benji. And look at that. Look at Carter as a older gentleman. Come here. The boy who began reading the newspapers to others informed the way people thought about history. He fought for a history based on truth, a history that included all people. Carter G. Woodson didn't just study history, he changed it. We can too. Benji, look it's right here. Come here. Do you know, Benji, that you can change history? Do you know that you're smart? Yeah, and you're handsome. Yeah. And do you know you can do anything you want to do? Benji? More people from our history: Maya Angelou, Muhammad Ali, Marian Anderson, Coretta Scott King, Charles Drew, Malcolm X, Mae Jemison, Shirley Chisholm, Colin Kilpatrick, Duke Ellington, Jesse Owens, Zora Neale Hurston, Katherine Johnson. Our history, Benji. Carter G. Woodson didn't just study history, he changed it. The boy who learned about the world by reading newspapers grew up to become the father of Black history. It's called Carter Reads the Newspaper.